Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 14, text number 10. Please repeat after me. Trivargam nati kruchrena. Trivargam nati kruchrena. Bhajeta gruhamedyapi. Bhajeta gruhamedyapi. Yata desham yata kalam. Yata desham yata kalam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Trivargam Natrikachrena. Bhajeta Gruhamedyapi. Yata Desham Tata Kalam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Trivargam Natikruchrena. Bhajeta Gruhamedyapi. Yata Desham Yata Kalam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Trivargam Natikruchrena. Bhajeta Gruhamedyapi. Yata Desham Yata Kalam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Trivargam Natikruchrena. Bhajeta Gruhamedyapi. Yata Desham Yata Kalam. Yavad Daivopapaditam. Word to word translation. Trivargam. Three principles, namely religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Na, not. Ati kruchrena, by very severe endeavor. Bhajeta, should execute. Gruhamedi, a person interested only in family life. Api, although. Yata desham, according to the place. Yata kalam, according to the time. Yavat, as much as. Daiva, by the grace of the Lord. Upapaditam, obtained. Translation and purport. By His divine grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. Purport. In human life, there are four principles to be fulfilled: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. First, one should be religious, observing various rules and regulations. And then, one must earn some money for the maintenance of his family and the satisfaction of his senses. The most important ceremony for sense gratification is marriage, because sexual intercourse is one of the principal necessities of the material body. Yan maitunadi gruhamedi sukham hitucham. Although sexual intercourse is not a very exalted requisite in life, both animals and men require some sense gratification because of material propensities. one should be satisfied with married life and not expend energy for extra sense gratification or sex life. As for economic development, the responsibility for this should be entrusted mainly to the Vaishyas and Grihasthas. Human society should be divided into Varnas and Ashramas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Economic development is necessary for Grihasthas. Brahmana Grihasthas should be satisfied with a life of Adhyayana, Adhyapana, Yajana and Yajana. Being learned scholars, teaching others to be scholars, learning how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, and teaching others how to worship Lord Vishnu or even the demigods. A Brahmana should do this without remuneration, but he is allowed to accept charity from a person whom he teaches how to be a human being. As for the Kshatriyas, they are supposed to be kings of the land, and the land should be distributed to the Vaishyas for agricultural activities, cow protection, and trade. Shudras must work. Sometimes they should engage in occupational duties as cloth manufacturers, weavers, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, brassmiths, and so on, or else they should engage in hard labor to produce food grains. These are the different occupational duties by which men should earn their livelihood, and in this way human society should be simple. At the present moment, however, everyone is engaged in technological advancement, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as Ugra Karma, extremely severe endeavor. This Ugra Karma is the cause of agitation within the human mind. Men are engaging in many sinful activities and becoming degraded by opening slaughterhouses, breweries, and cigarette factories, as well as nightclubs and other establishments for sense enjoyment. In this way, they are spoiling their lives. In all of these activities, of course, householders are involved, and therefore it is advised here, with the use of the word api, that even though one is a householder, one should not engage himself in severe hardships. One's means of livelihood should be extremely simple. As for those who are not Grihasthas, the Brahmacharis, Vanaprasthas and Sannyasis, they do not have to do anything but strive for advancement in spiritual life. This means that 3/4 of the entire population should stop sense gratification and simply be engaged in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Only 1/4 of the population should be Grihastha and should be according to the laws of restricted sense gratification. The Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, Brahmacharis and Sannyasis should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Daiva Varnashrama. One of the objectives of the Krishna consciousness movement is to establish this Daiva Varnashrama, but not to encourage so-called Varnashrama without scientifically organized endeavor by human society. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Agnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gauravaktarunda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi, or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. So we see here, there's a beautiful description of the goal of life and how one should achieve that goal of life in different ashramas and varnas. Srila Prabhupada would describe this Ugra Karma civilization by quoting his train ride from Vrindavan to Delhi. Prabhupada talks about it in multiple places. You can imagine this train ride happening in the 1960s and 50s. But even now, if you do the train ride, you can still experience a little bit of it. So when you're going through, Vrindavan in that area, at least in those days, I remember this even in 2001. You will see, a lot of lush greenery and all that, and fields. And it keeps coming. And suddenly, Prabhupada used to say, as soon as you started looking at Delhi, huge factories and smoke billowing out of those factories. And as you come nearer, you hear the noise, the pollution, and the pam-pam horns and this and that. And Prabhupada used to call this as, this Ugra Karma civilization as enhanced fever. Material life itself is having a fever. Now you are having a lot of fever. Enhanced fever. So, very interestingly, this Ugra Karma, in this translation itself, Prabhupada is saying, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. So this question always keeps coming up. What is Ugra Karma? When is it called Ugra Karma? Right? When is this an over endeavor? And Srila Prabhupada is parsing this out in the purport. Right? Now, before we go into how Prabhupada is parsing out, I'd like to hear from all of you, what are the symptoms of somebody who is doing Ugra Karma? Sometimes we ourselves are engaged in Ugra Karma in different situations. Sometimes we see others engaged in Ugra Karma. So what are the symptoms of Ugra Karma? Working more than 8 hours, okay. Huh? So hard work is Ugra Karma? So anybody who works hard is Ugra Karma? Huh? Hard work for satisfying senses. What else? No, yes. Yeah, when there is no time for spiritual engagement, spiritual realization. Yes. What else? Having high material goals. Lack of enough sleep. Yeah, that's a good one. So, there is a Desha Kala Patra discussion here, right? A very interesting thing you brought up, having high material goals. You said. See, this is a very relative thing over here. Now, just because somebody has, very high material knowledge or material position or wealth or this, you can't say that is Ugra Karma. Right? For that particular person, for their Desha and Kala and Patra, what is, over, something that comes naturally. Like Mataji was saying, having enough time for spiritual practice and things like that. Right? Now, let's see how Prabhupada is parsing this out. Like Prabhupada very scientifically approaches this. Right? First he says, who should even be doing economic development? So Prabhupada restricts it to Vaishyas, and then he's saying out of the 8 divisions of the society, the same society is divided into 4 ways based on the ashramas, and 4 other ways based on varanas. So each out of all the ashramas, only one ashrama is supposed to engage in economic development. That is Grosthas. And out of all the varanas also is saying, only one should be striving for producing wealth. That is Vaishyas. See, that is the nature of this thing. So that doesn't mean that Gruhasthas, who are in the other varanas, should not do work. But the goal of the work should be a little different. That is what Prabhupada is trying to parse out. So let us first understand this Uber concept, and then we'll come into what does it mean for us today in our life, in our Desha Kala Patra. So Prabhupada is saying, Brahmacharis, Vanaprasthas and Sannyasis should not be endeavoring for should not be over endeavoring for this economic development. And this also specifically is calling out sense gratification, and specifically sense gratification in the form of relations with the opposite sex. Right? Because, so think about it, right? Brahmachari is very, very clear. What should they be endeavoring for? Learning what? Yeah. So there is both an acquisition of knowledge, not just spiritual knowledge. There is material knowledge also needed to live in this world. Both are needed. And character building. That's why we say character building. See, building of character, it doesn't happen by fluke. Right? It just, you don't build character just by not doing anything. No, it takes time, energy and effort to build character. That is why we see, any form of societal attempt to build character, which involves our hard work, some perseverance, some sacrifice, right? So even take, for example, this whole scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, that our children are going to, right? You will see the way it is designed in any society that has a systematic way of handling this. You will see that there is an effort involved. There is a level of austerity, right? Other day the children were telling, when we are doing scuba diving, They were saying, oh, this cube, that thing is very heavy. That gas tank is super heavy. So this is our backpack that we used to carry in Boy Scouts is worse than this, they were saying. And they were making them carrying it up the whole hill, up the hill and come down, and multiple times they had to go up and down. Right? When somebody thinks about this, they will say, what is this? Is that the teacher being sadistic? They get some pleasure out of torturing the kids? Is that the reason why they're doing it? There is training. Life means, see, the way this mind-body system is designed, it is very counterintuitive. When you work really hard, the chemicals and the system to make you happy are actually released. When you run hard, when you they do this Ironman, triathlon, marathon and all that, they say that, for the human body to even have experienced basic levels of happiness, and then, see, this is not some mental happiness. They have done a lot of research on this. Because ultimately, this is a physiological body. There are hormones, there are this, that produce, we say happiness, quote unquote, but actually behind the scenes, if you go analyze the blood and what is going on, certain chemicals are being dropped into the body, and that produces a sense of happiness and all that. And they're all related with, they say that 30 minutes of hard exercise minimum everybody should do per day. Now the exercise can be going to a gym and doing the exercise, or you can do some physical hard work also. Right? Both are exercise only. How is that different? Other day when we were in that Sunnyvale, this thing, you should see all those people come and doing exercise, right? Like we used to carry water jugs in our hand, they used to carry weights and to keep running around. In the olden times, people used to carry jugs of water and move on. That is exercise, right? They're lifting this thing, they're moving back and forth like this. I was telling some Mataji's. I remember when I was younger, I used to live in a village for the first 1 or 2 years of my, toddler years, till first grade. Then I should remember, my mother used to be in a different place, so my aunts, I used to see them. Two of them would sit on either side of one big stone, right? And that's how they would grind things, One person would push this way, other person would push this way. Right? Have you seen that? Literally, the stone used to be like this big, this wide, and there is a granite, area in the kitchen, next to the kitchen, preparatory area that is. And they're pushing they're all sitting and they're pushing like this, and then they would take this and put inside, and then very quickly it would grind into, whatever chutney and all they used to make like that. Right? If you do that, then 10-15 minutes only, full exercise. You don't need any other exercise. You don't have to go to gym or anything like that. Right? I so distinctly remember this. We used to have this circular thing also. Right? Same granite thing, they used to pour in this, and then all these mills came and all that. And then they started taking things to the mills. Then they would go and, one time grinding is done. Now, machine does the grinding, but you still have to do exercise. What is the... So, these kind of, things that a brahmacharya means, it's hard work should be there, discipline should be there. That is why Prabhupada, when he talks about, what is the... what does Prabhupada say about age and children, how to manage and all that? What does Prabhupada say? Below 5, what should they? They should just play. Nothing, don't tell them anything, let them do whatever they want. And then? No, but what about in between? Yeah. 5 to 15? And then? So Prabhupada used to quote Chanakya Pandit and say, Balyam, when they're very young, they should just let them play. No, let them play how much ever they want. Then between the age of 5 and 6 and 15, then according to Chanakya Pandit, we can adjust that a little bit to Desha Kala Patra. Things will change. One should be very strict with the child, so that, because there should be love and strictness at the same time. It's not that you are like a dictator or something. You just do this and that is not life, right? Human being means there is independent, there is this, but at the same time, within these boundaries, how you can be loving, but within boundaries, and that the strictness. Then what happens? It builds character, because the child has to learn. Hey, I can't do anything and everything in this world. Right? Why? Because once they grow up, they have to experience the world. No? Will the world let you do whatever you want? No? You've seen some children throw tantrums. I want this, and they'll be, making this thing. Just because they say, I want this, you give everything to them, what will happen? Will the world give you everything you want? No. They can't even. Then what happens? You see many of these children who are like, they call them, there is a term nowadays they use. What they call them? Helicopter parenting, they call them. Right? Have you heard of this word? Helicopter parenting? Huh? And always hovering over them and trimming all obstacles for them. Right? And they also call them, what do they call those? Shoveling parents or something, like snow plowing parents. Yeah. Snow plowing means there is, in the East Coast and all, there's a lot of snow, right? And then north and all. So somebody is like, they show a picture of parents going in front of them and removing all the snow for them. No, you're thinking you're giving them love and affection by, insulating them from all of this. But what is the end result that comes out of it? The child doesn't learn about failure, doesn't learn how to face hardships, doesn't learn how to take decisions in difficult situations. Right? And so, that is why it is said that they should learn, character building should happen. Sometimes everybody will do mistakes. Who will not do mistakes? There should be some this thing. And then, so the character building happens. Oh, this is good, this is bad, this is good. And then we reach an age when we just treat them as friends. Right? At that point, because by then you see how the mind develops. You can observe this. I remember when this change happened in me when I was younger. I remember it was in 8th standard, this thing around that time. I suddenly realized, I'm able to think on my own. I'm able to take decisions, just like, decisions. May not be a good decisions, but you're able to, at least, you're able to understand, you're able to very objectively, analyze things and all that. That change will happen. In girls it happens a little earlier, in boys it happens a little later, and different children it happens at different age. One day you'll suddenly see, now they're talking like, grown-ups. Don't you observe that? Even small children, suddenly you'll see their talking will change, their way they talk, they will change. That will happen with everybody. At that point, and then a few years after that, we start treating them like friends. You can tell them, hey, this is good, this is not good. But beyond that, then Kala will teach them. They're all individuals after all. If we don't teach, they don't learn, who is going to teach? Life will teach. Ultimately, nobody can escape life's lessons. So, that's the brahmacharis, means that's the focus. This is the focus. Now, the vanaprasthas, their focus is slowly going away from big responsibilities and things like that. Now, that doesn't mean That vanaprasthas means, oh, now I'm already retired, I'm going to just happily sleep and, take life easy. No, you shift your focus from, instead of taking care of yourself, your family, your friends, your society, your whatever community, this, expand your horizon to serve society. We should spend more and more time serving others and less time with our immediate self. That is a symptom of a vanaprastha. And it's a gradual progress. Progress happens. Sannyasi is 100% dedicated for others. Right? For the service of others. Right? So Prabhupada is telling about the Daivi Varnashrama. And then even among the ashrama, this was ashrama discussion, even among the Varnas, what does Prabhupada say a Brahmana should do? Yajan, Patan, in different words he uses. Adhyapanam and Adhyayana and Adhyapana. Patan, Adhyayana, Adhyapanam are the same. Patan is reading, Patan is teaching. Adhyayana is learning, Adhyapana is teaching. Right? That is the goal, that is the duty of a Brahmana. Yajan. So Brahmana should not be over-endeavoring for some economic development and this and that. And Prabhupada used to say, even an elephant, who is feeding the elephant? Huh? You see elephants. Usually you don't see elephants that they're bony, skinny, and they're well built, and they're somebody's taking care of them. Who? Krishna is taking care of them. Like that, as human beings, all our needs will be automatically taken care of. So Brahmanas should focus on doing this and not worry about developing their economy or something like that. Right? Same with Kshatriya. Kshatriya's duty, what is Kshatriya's duty? Give protection, create an atmosphere of equality. You will see, anybody who has a Kshatriya mentality, there'll be a very strong urge in them to maintain equality. Rules, process, and this. That's like, you don't do that, there'll be, a Kshatriya cannot live. Because that is the nature. You can't go against what nature, has given. And it is necessary in society. If in society, just imagine, I was there in India just a few months back. And we were going from Vrindavan to Delhi in a national highway. And we are going at good speeds also, not that we're going small, 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers that fellow is going. And I had to literally keep my eyes closed. Seeing the fellow driving, I'll get a heart attack. He's swerving in and out. Lorries are going, big lorries. They will go in the rightmost lane. Whatever. They're right. I forget now. What day you drive on the left in India? Yeah. So they're in the rightmost lane. The fastest lane. They're going slow, but they're in the fastest lane. And then this fellow is swerving in between lorries and going. And then we are going, suddenly on the opposite side, tuk-tuk is coming in the opposite direction in a national highway. Opposite direction. Not even. And then people are jaywalking on a national highway. Suddenly somebody will come. And this fellow is braking and this and that. See, that is also a way of living. It's not that it is the people are living. No? In India, people are not living. They're living. But is that a way of driving and living? Right? That is why people keep drivers. You can't drive yourself like that. Right? You'll get, some people like me will get a heart attack only, after 20 years of even in India, I very rarely driven, I should drive, but not, for many years I've not driven by myself. It's very, but unnecessary. If people followed rules and regulations, just like here you go on a highway, nobody jaywalks, A big truck is moving, they'll be in the second lane or the leftmost lane. They won't ever be in. You don't see semi trucks moving in the right lane. Have you ever seen? They don't, because they're all following rules. And everybody follows rules, then everybody is happy. Right? So that is a Kshatriya's responsibility. To make sure that equanimity is maintained in a society, rules and regulations are being followed. Why? Because it makes things conducive for spiritual life itself. Right? And then the Vaishyas, they are the ones who are supposed to engage in economic development, produce wealth, and sustain the sources of that wealth. Right? Prabhupada says agriculture is a Vaishya activity. Right? How do you sustain the source of that wealth? Take care of the earth. Don't pollute the earth, don't pollute the rivers. Right? The responsibility take care of all of that. So let us now switch focus, very few minutes left, on what does this Ugra Karma, how do we apply this to Desha Kala Patra, to our day-to-day life. Right? Mataji gave a very interesting definition. Actually, it's a very good one. See, most of us have jobs that we have to do in our day-to-day life, because they're grahasthas as well as, we are grahasthas and we have to take care of our families and all that. So, endeavor means that 8 hours. In the Vedic times, many times Prabhupada, if you read the purports, anybody remembers what number of hours Prabhupada gives a person should work? One other number Prabhupada gives. Actually, he says 6 to 8 hours. In the olden times, people used to work for 6 hours, 5-6 hours, they used to work. That's all. And society would run, happily it would run. There's no dearth of a society running. But we have complicated our lives so much. Temperature has increased of the society. In a temperature increased society, we can't say, I will only work 6 hours. Many of us do, but but still I'm saying, somewhere between 6 and 8, right, for your work. Working anything more than that, definitely we should understand, little bit over endeavor. Like Mataji was saying, we should not endeavor for too big position, this and that. That is different for different people. But it's same thing. If, getting that next promotion means you have to work 10 hours every day or 12 hours every day and you don't have time for your spiritual life and for your services to your spiritual master, then we should think twice. Why is that needed? Because whatever money has to come, it will fall on your head. And if you over endeavor, and by some people, over endeavor, some people, but devious means they make money. By cheating, this is okay, I can do like this. By, different devious schemes you make money. You will see, Kala will take that money away from you. It doesn't take too long. One small problem comes, all money gone. One health comes, money gone. One government issue comes, all money gone. Right? So, we should understand that, over endeavor means working more than that. That's why Prabhupada gave, for somebody who wants to be really serious in spiritual life, he gave a wonderful formula for us to follow in our day-to-day schedule, that make sure that you are not doing Ugra Karma. If you follow these 3-4 things, you can yourself test and you can experience not doing Ugra Karma. Right? What do you think for somebody who is really serious, he wants to be an initiated disciple? What are the things we should do in our day that ensures this? Chanting, 2 hours will go for chanting, right? Get up in the morning, come up with a schedule where you get up in the morning, like do Mangalarti, 2 hours of chanting, Like 1.5 hours of reading or hearing. Right? And have a sandwich program. Morning you begin your day with sadhana and these things, and end your day with some little bit of this. Live, a regulated life. Yuktahara viharascha. There is no end to how much what you can do. Either service or your material work. In fact, in service also you can do over and over. A lot of people do, driven by name, fame, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, va kavitam, right? So, va jagadisha kamaye, right? When you're driven by these things, then you do ugra karma. And end result is, even in service, if you do ugra karma, in so-called service, result will not be palatable. There will always be some troubles that come with it. So, one should have a fixed time. At this time I get up, this time I sleep. And when sleeping time comes, fine, whatever is done for the day is done. It can be done tomorrow, no problem. Sleep nicely, get up nicely. And if you continue to do this, you'll see that, the modes of material nature will be favorable. That is why Prabhupada, if you see in the purport, is telling Dhaivi Varnashrama. Right? So, the Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, Brahmacharis and Sannyasis should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Daiva Varnashrama. One of the objectives of the Krishna consciousness movement is to establish this Daiva Varnashrama, but not to encourage so-called Varnashrama without scientifically organized endeavor by human society. See, very beautiful words Prabhupada is using. Without scientifically organized endeavor by human society. See, all of this is science. It needs organization, to establish this. So that's why Prabhupada, during the last stages of his life, used to say, I have one unfulfilled mission that he wanted, his disciples to fulfill, which was establish the Daivi Varnashrama in a very systematic way. So all of us should take this to our heart. This is very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Each of us in our life, in the different stages of our life, whatever is your varna, whatever is your ashrama, follow that nicely and be an example. Right? If we create sufficient examples among ourselves, it will be wonderful for others to follow. We'll stop here. Anybody has any questions or comments? Good question. What does religiosity mean over here? Not express. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So, not in a Daivi Varnashrama, in a normal Varnashrama, religiosity, Dharma leads to Artha. Artha then feeds Kama, right? And the end of Kama, this thing, you'll strive for Moksha. That is the thinking. Religiosity there is following the Vedic injunctions for rules and regulations and different things. So, people would perform, they would do some yagna, they would do some worship and this, with the sole goal that, if I do these things nicely, Artha will come. Right? So that kind of thinking, is the religiosity that is being talked about here. Now, all of that ultimately, when everything is engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord, that's where the Daiva part, the Daiva Varnashrama comes in. Right? Then, when you are, there are actually many beautiful quotes by Prabhupada. on what should be an ideal grihastha life. But the lot of them, when I was getting ready for the class, I was reading. Prabhupada used to say that most important thing for a grihastha is to have a nice atmosphere at home for the worshipping the Supreme Lord. Prepare nice foodstuffs and offer to the Lord, and then invite guests, so that they can be given prasadam and they can also experience Krishna consciousness. That's one of the requirements of that. I think they must be ready. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Bol Premanande.